Hi, Dr. Gilbert here, along with Rachel Matthews
Hello.
from Oregon Weight and Wellness, saying, Merry couple of days after Christmas. Rachel,
Yeah.
how are you doing? I see your beautiful tree in the background.
Yes, I thought I would, kind of give you guys a little Christmassy, bright, sort of light infused vision to change it
Very
up a little
nice.
bit, right?
Yours is in the background, mine's in the foreground.
I see that. I love that. Is it a poinsettia?
Yeah, isn't that pretty? It's
It is.
very, yeah, this is from
Mm.
one of our patients here, very kind, and I've never seen one like it. It's that variegated leaf. It's pretty. So
It's very
here
pretty.
I
Yeah.
am, and I have to say, I haven't killed it yet. Good for me.
Yes, good for you.
Yeah. So you had a nice holiday.
We did.
Mhm.
It's we got our Christmas tree and Christmas decorations up a couple weeks later than I
Uh-huh.
normally like to. So we're planning on holding on to this right here for a couple of weeks. I love sitting here. I love reading. I just love staring at the twinkle lights. I love the way my
Mhm.
house looks bright and cheery. And then when you take it all
Right.
down, it's kind of like,
Right.
so yeah. How
Yeah.
about you?
And we didn't have to dream about a white Christmas, right?
I know. You know, if it was sunny, because it was sunny out here a little bit earlier, and I was going to do my live from outside just to show
Mhm.
everybody the snow.
Oh,
But
okay.
are you guys still have quite a bit of snow on the ground?
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, we drove back over the past yesterday.
That
So
was
it's not
probably
quite
so
white
hard.
out, but it was anyway.
Yeah.
And we got home to this and turned a few lights on in the house, and my husband took a picture. I mean, Thomas Kincaid, eat your heart out.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
pretty. I think I'm going to use it for my Christmas card next year. It is so
You
pretty.
should.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rachel, bringing it back to our ongoing conversation. Rachel, tell us what today's topic is about.
Okay, we are on chapter 31 of the Michael Pollan Food Rules little booklet that we're going through,
Yeah, the
chapter
little
by
book.
chapter. And chapter 31 says, eat wild foods when you can.
Mhm.
And he goes through, he talks about so, at first thought, you're thinking wild foods, probably like wild game, wild animals, which he does mention, but he
Mhm.
also talks about wild plants, right? There's wild mushrooms, wild greens. And I love that he makes, we can talk about animals in a minute too, but I love that he talks about the fact that wild greens tend to be a little bit more bitter, and some of
Mhm.
the older, more ancient, types of plants and things that haven't been bred for pest resistant and bred for a sweeter flavor.
Right.
Some of the more rough and tumble greens and different types of plants built up that kind of more bitter flavor, because that's how they have their natural pest resistance, right? And they had to more drought resistant and more maybe rain resistant, and really that's what made them so hardy. So they're not quite as sweet and tender as some of the varieties that we now have in our grocery stores, which is really
That's
really
exactly right.
interesting.
That's exactly right. And it is that bitterness that, that says, hey, bug, don't eat me.
Yeah.
And that phytonutrient that causes that is the exact thing that is so healthy and good for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Isn't that fascinating?
Fascinating.
What protects the plant is what protects us also.
Exactly.
Disease, and it's an
Yeah.
antioxidant and all these
Yeah.
things. So
Yeah. So
love
cool.
that.
And yeah, I love it too. So, and yeah, he talks about wild game because they're going to they're going to be leaner. We've said this before. They're leaner, less fat. And the kind of fat is going to have a better omega-3 anti-inflammatory to omega-6 pro-inflammatory ratio. And unfortunately, we've gone all upside down and backwards in that ratio in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
I mean, 100 years, we've upped our omega-6s and decreased omega-3s, which has gotten us kind of sick. So wild game, but also wild plants. I was thinking, Stephanie Husk, She joins us, and she's our LCSW therapist, does some counseling with our group, our patients. And she, I've gone to her house where she's only foraged what in the plants around her house.
Yeah.
She's foraged for food around her house, and then her husband hunts and fishes, so she'll bring some salmon to the table that they've caught, and then she's foraged for food around her house. I think it's the wild stuff around her house.
It's crazy. I know. When I heard her say that, I was just fascinated of the thought that in our area and anywhere where you live, there are going to be native edible plants. You just have to learn what they are, right? And I know we have tons of mushrooms here in the Willamette Valley, and some are edible, some are not. But I would love to learn how to forage these, because my husband and I will go in the forest and do these, trail runs, and there's always all these mushrooms, and I'm like, should I pick one? I don't know. But I want to learn.
I haven't been that brave.
I haven't either. I have not picked any yet because I'm terrified, but I want to learn that.
Right. Yeah. So cool. Yeah. So cool. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's right. So plants have so many protective things, and then phytochemicals that protect us. I love their things that protect them, protect us. That's perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. And the thing about so with wild game, I think it's been so interesting. I've seen a lot of wild game, when it's being processed, and seen how different the meat looks. And I've tasted a lot of wild game. And for most people, when they first are exposed to it, they're a little bit averse to the flavor because it is so different. Mm-hmm. Some people call it gamey. Some people just call it not bitter, but I don't know how you would describe it. Mm-hmm. But for me, and even the same with the plants, is that I want to allow my taste buds to appreciate that and learn it, because it's just different. That's all. Our taste buds just alert us because it's just different. It's like if you never eat vegetables, you start it. It's a little off-putting, but you will learn it, and it will become more natural and real. Right. And I remember my husband used to duck hunt quite a bit, and I remember when he would process the meat, it was almost like the meat was black. It was so dark. It wasn't bright red. It was deep, deep, deep red, to almost where it was black. And there was no white meat on these ducks, right? Mm-hmm. These are flying birds. They're solid muscle. That's all they are, is one giant muscle. Yeah. So I found that really interesting.
Yeah.
No white meat.
Great. Right. And what was I going to say to that? Yeah, they're eating, and when they're wild, then they are eating, the plants that they're eating are healthier and pesticide free, Exactly. And so they're not going to upcycle toxins. They're going to upcycle nutrition and nutrients. Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah.
And it's so diverse because, for ducks and for all animals, they're what's it called when you're flying from one place to the next?
Migrating.
Yes. They're migrating. So birds migrate, wild animals migrate, move around. And so they're getting different, diversity.
And they're in different, ecosystems and microclimates, and then the biodiversity there. That's so cool. If I had to do studying all over again, I might do something like that because it's so fascinating.
It is.
In my next life, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So all right. That conversation we had maybe a week or two ago, where you were saying, find some friends who hunt or fish and do some trade, right? Or find a local farmers market where people bring in their wares, and you're getting some wild game if you can, not just farm raised grass fed beef, but what about the wild elk that someone is willing to either trade or sell that? See if you can tap into that a little bit more.
Cool. Yeah. Great point. Okay. All right. So what is on your menu for tonight, Rachel?
Ooh, dinner. Yeah. So we're pretty much through all of the leftover, foods that we made for some of the meals for Christmas Eve and Christmas. And so I ripped out a recipe from a magazine, and it's cauliflower tacos. And it just looked fresh and just good, like little tiny, like a fish taco, but with cauliflower. And I'm not sure if I'm going to roast the cauliflower. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the recipe well enough yet, but there's going to be a slaw, kind of like a slaw that you'd find in fish tacos. So it just looks fresh and crispy and yummy.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. How about you?
Yes. Well, we are going to do yesterday's menu for today because we were got home from our long travel back, over the pass. Took a little bit more time, and none of us were hungry. So guess what? We didn't eat. So you're not. Yeah, eat when you're hungry. Yeah. So we didn't eat. Well, yeah. So. Well, I guess I shouldn't. I had some vegetables, but I really wasn't hungry to make a meal, so I had whatever leftover vegetables. And but tonight, so we had planned on doing some of our grass-fed, grass-finished T-bone steaks special. My son's home; he's excellent grill extraordinaire, and so he's going to do that on the grill tonight. So, and we'll put some roasted Brussels sprouts. I'm totally into the butternut squash and Brussels sprouts. I haven't gotten over that yet.
And don't you love that when you find something that's really good, make it over and over and over again? Like just, and it's so good. The flavor, I think, of the butternut squash with Brussels sprouts, right? Because Brussels sprouts are a little bit more rough and kind of a harsher flavor. And then the butternut squash, man, it's good.
And I'm throwing a little cinnamon and that's the other point I was going to make too about these bitter. But when you add more spices, then you hit different areas on your taste buds. So it's that combination. I think of the ratatouille rat.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. And even like the idea with kale, you made me think of like a lot of people don't like to eat kale, especially the lacinato, the really rough, like dinosaur kale, because it's really rough. It's kind of hard to eat. But you spritz a little bit of fresh lemon juice over it and massage it with your hands.
Right, massage it,
yeah. And the lemon juice breaks down some of that cellulose in the plant to make it a little bit more palatable. Not to mention that vitamin C is so great for, increasing your iron uptake and things like that in the foods you eat.
Right.
But it changes the flavor a little bit with the palatability of kale. So to your point, just finding the ways to make certain bitter greens or vegetables a little bit better with the right spices and the right preparation.
I love that because then you're going to get even more nutrient density because all those spices do something different and good for your health. So to your point about lemon juice, vinegar can be another add to these bitter greens that do so many different things. Actually, they slow down the vinegar. I'm learning this. The acetic acid slows down the digestion. So it slows down how the food moves through your gut. So you stay fuller longer when you add apple cider vinegar. And actually it activates GLP-1, which is one of our satiety hormones, one of many. And in that, again, you stay fuller longer. So just
yeah, I love that you're giving us the science behind something I've read about, and maybe other people have read about, that vinegar, if you add it to meals, you tend to be fuller, longer, faster, more satisfied. So, I've just thought about add more vinegar to the meals I make. And I know that I love the flavor. You might think of vinegar as a strong flavor, but when added to foods, it changes, right? But what you're giving us is the why behind what we're doing, like the science. So that for those of you guys listening, if you're kind of like, why should I do that? Oh, because there's science behind it, right? And there's a reason why it helps you stay fuller and more satisfied, which I love. When you put those two things together, I think it makes it a lot easier for people to make change for the long haul.
Right. I'm going to stay full and satisfied. That's right. Yeah. All right, Rachel. Well, and thanks for joining us today. And I guess we're going to say Happy New Year to everybody.
Yes, Happy New
Year. And Healthy New Year. Right?
Yes.
Everyone. And we will see you next week right back here for a few more thoughts about food rules.
Yes, that's right. All right, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I got to move my thing in my broadcast.